In this lesson, I'm going to quickly give you a very simple overview of how you can rig your eyes to a lookout constraint as well as the head. So if you are doing just the head and neck for the class and the eyes and perhaps some teeth, this will give you a little bit of rigging to be able to set into your mesh so that you can move it around or get familiar with the basic points of rigging for the head. So the first thing we're going to do is link up the eyes. As in this tutorial series, we created a two-part eye, one for the outer portion to be highly reflective with specularity on it, and the internal, which has some subsurface scattering materials on it. So we're going to first link the outer portion of the eye to the inner portion of the eye, and the first thing we're going to do is select the outer portion of the eye, and we're going to select on Select and Link, this little icon up in the upper left hand corner, and we're going to click and drag that onto the base part of the eye, and the same with the other eye. Alright, and so then what we want to do is create some objects to constrain those eyes to. I'm going to create a point helper. We're just going to plot that right in there. We're going to go to face front and make sure that that is right where we want it. Turn off my snap. Okay. And we're going to, from this front view, we're going to center that on the eyeball there. And to check our top, just want it right out in front of the eye there. And we're going to duplicate that. Copy. Again, face front. We're going to make sure that that's centered on our eye. Now from the top view, we're going to create our lookout constraints. And the way that we're going to do that is selecting on the internal eye, which is what we have the outer eye linked to, so this will be our parent. We're going to go right up here to Animation, Constraints, Look at Constraint, and it'll give you a little string attached here, and you're just going to click on that point helper. Okay, and then right click in the viewport, and you're going to go right over here and do the same thing. Constraint, Look at Constraint to that point helper. And as you can see in the rollout, it shows you that you now have a look at constraint applied to your point helper. Alright, so the next step is to create an object, turn off my grid, that will keep these eyes rotating together. You can see now that that eye is rotating on its axis to follow or to look at that point helper. So now what we're going to do is in face front, I'm just going to create another helper to be able to link those two, so you have one object to move around for the eyes. Now in Create Panel, I'm going right down here to Shapes, and I'm going to click on Text, and I'm going to type in eyes, which you can see I've already done. Okay. And now we'll click right here, and you can see that's huge, so we're going to face front, we're going to scale that down. Okay. And then we're going to position that right in between the point helpers. I'm going to use the Align tool to align that to the object. Okay, and top view down, front view. I'm going to just center that on there. I'm looking at the pivot point for this object. I want to be really precise. I can go down here and just zero that out. Alright. Okay, now that I have those that object created, I'm going to select the point helpers. I'm going right up here to link. And I'm going to, once I get my icon here, I'm going to click and drag onto that new object. And now what I can do is come here and hide by category in the motion panel helpers. So now what I have left is the eye. Now you can see that those eyes are following that lookout constraint. Alright. The next thing I'd like to show you is morph targets. If I have an object, which I have already moved a couple of birds around on this particular head, and so I have something to morph, but what you want is an exact duplicate. You want the same topology as you have on the targeted object, so that your verts are not reordered, otherwise your morph targets are not going to work. So once you have that, you can go ahead up here to the modifier list and select on morpher, and then right here, down here in the rollout, you can right click on empty, pick from scene, and pick that object from the scene. You can see that I go 0 to 100 are the values that are entered in here by default. So if I go ahead and dial that up, you can see the 100% effect of this morph target on that. Alright, and the way that you can keyframe those is by selecting on auto key and come on out here. You can set a key if you like. It automatically sets one though if you set this out here, and that way you can see that you can animate these morph targets. Right? And you can also animate your eyes as well. Just by keying on that object. Alright, the next thing that you can do is put bones in your head. You can, let's go ahead and hide a few things here. You select on those. Under the display panel, you can select on shapes, and that will hide your shapes. Your morph targets, you can create a selection set for those. Targets. And now to add that selection, you can go ahead and click the plus, and you can see that my object is in there. So let's go ahead and change this to wireframe, and right up here under animation, you'll go down to bone tools and bring up your bone tools menu, and scroll up. You can say create bones. I push F to make sure I'm in the front view. Turn on my grid. Right click, snap to grid points. Okay, put that away. Now you can go ahead in here and start laying in bones. And what I do is between the shoulder blades, at the base of the neck, at the top of the neck, and that's usually right at the bottom of the ears. Some people like to put it right where the eardrums would be. and then I go to the very top of the head, and I just go ahead and delete that top one there. Alright, and once you have your bones, you can select on those and go to the modify panel. Let's take our auto key off. And you can adjust your fins here, side fins. There's the front fin, comes down. Okay. The back fin, the other side. I'm just going to say 1.5 here. 1.5. -6. Okay, and 20. Alright, so we also have side fins. If you rotate to the right, turn the grid off, you can see that you dial those out as well. Oops. And change that top and bottom angle to the fin. Okay, face front, Z for zoom. Alright, now that I have these in place, I'll go ahead and select again on my skin. And I'll take the morpher off for the time being. I like to have skin on the base. So S, skin modifier. And just like we discussed in class, go ahead and add our bones. Okay. And you can also modify your envelopes if you choose. We'll go with the defaults on this one for now. And now that you have that in place, what you can do is select on your bones, rotate those, and as you can see, those skin weights are going to need to be adjusted, but there's your bones are in place and you have your skin working. So I'll go ahead and adjust your weights accordingly as per previous tutorial. You'll be able to modify your skin weights. That's also available to you in the demo videotapes. And put our morpher back on here. You just go ahead and put your morpher modifier back on. Let's unhide our morph target. Okay, and we have that. Okay, working. The eyes are working. And you have your keyframe still in place. And that is a very, very basic tutorial on how to begin rigging your head.